I'm just thrilled with this turnout. This is a big crowd for us, and it's been very exciting for me. This is my first quarter. This is my first quarter as a member of AIM, and this is the third event we've held this quarter. The first was our Taste of Asia event, which I hope you all attended. It was great food and a great opportunity for networking. And we also held a class last week that was fully subscribed. So seeing you all here, I really feel that we've got momentum and we're growing. You know, at Taste of Asia, we enrolled 80 new members. That was phenomenal for us. That was about a 10% growth in membership.
So how did you get where you are today?
Total luck. No, I'm kidding. Well, it's kind of an interesting question because I think we all think about how do you get to what you ultimately aspire to do, right? You know, universities didn't have the kinds of HR and labor relation programs that they have today. So you just really, you didn't think about that. So I went to business school, and then I went to school, postgraduate work at night, and finished my MBA. And I started my career in sales with a company called SC Johnson. They make, they're a consumer products company, Pledge, Windex, Glade, all that sort of stuff. And I spent the first 5 years of my career in sales. And then as I finished my MBA, I wanted to go into marketing because that's what you do in a brand-oriented company. You go into marketing. So I took my first marketing assignment, and then about a year into that assignment, I got put into this, the equivalent of a key talent program. And they ended up making us take rotations across the various parts of the business. And my very first rotation that I had to take was in personnel. And I can just remember thinking, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? What am I gonna do in personnel? I mean, what are those people even doing there? You know, I thought it was like you push papers, you file, you do all this kind of administrative type work. And I was like, why do I have to go into personnel? Why can't someone else go into personnel? So anyway, I got into it, and then I sort of found I actually had a connection to the kind of work that was being done. I kind of found that coming from the line side of the business, I brought a different perspective that fortunately for me, they valued. And then after about a year doing that, I decided to make a career.
I was pretty purposeful in my career path. I was pretty ambitious and knew that I wanted to take leadership roles. And I started at Dell in Europe, and my initial goal was to, I started as an individual contributor, and so did a lot of contract work, and wanted to ultimately run the European legal team. That was my goal. And really being disciplined about getting better at those things is, I would say, how I got here. So there was a whole slew of areas that I wasn't that great at, including speaking extemporaneously in front of a group of people. I would get nervous, I would not do it very well, and I would see people who seem to do it effortlessly. You're in a group like this, and someone jumps up and they just start talking as if they were talking to me personally, and I remember literally thinking, wow, like, how the hell does that person do that? Your predecessor, Andrew Sparza, was in Europe when I was there, and I remember talking to him and talking about my goals with him, and he was really generous with his criticism of things I could do better, which helped me a lot, because he was really honest with what he thought I would need to do to get to my goals. And so I would literally write them down, carry it with me, and look at them every few months, because they were hard. I would try not to do them because it was hard work. But that, I would say, was, for me, a real, the way I got here was really thinking about the competencies that you need to do your job well.
Thank you. Would this journey have been different if you were Asian or Hispanic or some other minority?
Well, you know, It's a good question. I don't really know the answer to that because I never have been one of those. And I don't expect that I'll ever be one of those.
You should try though.
So maybe, here's what I would say to that, is, you said it best there, Rich, where you said you were purposeful. And so I think the journey, you give yourself the best opportunity to achieve what you ultimately aspire to do when you can be a little more purposeful and think about what does that destination look like for you. So what is it that you actually do aspire to do with your career, so that at some point when you're 30 years into it and you're looking back on it, you go, this feels pretty good. You know, there's no guarantees at all for anyone that ever happens, because let's face it, life is full of change, and life throws you a bunch of curveballs along the way. People get married, people get divorced, they have to take care of older parents, they have children, they have working spouses that get jobs in other cities, states, countries. I mean, there's illness, you can just think of all the kinds of curveballs that life throws you that potentially causes you to make trade-offs in your decisions and how you spend your work career. I always thought about my career in terms of experiences. So if I wanted to run HR for a Fortune 100 company, which Dell would be one of those today, I said, well, okay, if that's kind of the end game, what kinds of experiences am I going to need to have in my portfolio that are going to prepare me to do that job at some point? And of course, through those experiences, that is where you develop competencies and skills, are actually through those experiences. I just knew at some point I needed all of these experiences that I had mapped out, and I had someone that helped me think about that. Someone who was older, wiser, had more tenure, had been there, who had been on this journey that I could actually learn from. And I think that's the point about being a little more purposeful. But if you don't do that and you just kind of take the mindset of, you know, I'm just going to do good work, I'm going to keep my head down, I'm going to make contribution, and the company will take care of me, and we all know that's not a very good strategy. You know, because in the end, the company will take care of itself. The company will take care of doing whatever is best to serve its customers and to win in the marketplace. And if I'm keeping myself marketable and I'm keeping myself skilled and capable and I'm creating value, really good chance I'm going to get to stay and be a part of that. If I don't do all those things, probably the company's not going to take care of me and it's going to move on.
It's a great question. If you were a different ethnicity or race or sex, would it be different? And I assume it would be different. I guess for me, a lot depends on the culture of the company that you're in. Every company has a different culture. I used to work at IBM and Caterpillar and Dell, and they're all very different. And whatever race or ethnicity you happen to be, I think that's the key question. It's like for me at Dell, I think in relative terms especially, it's a meritocracy, it rewards results. It's a relatively, I would say it's a modest company in the sense that the leadership, you know, there's not, I mean, excepting Steve, not a lot of big egos. ELC.
So the things I heard were focus, determination, purpose, having a plan, go after it. It's not where you come from, who you are, or whatever. Thank you. So you also talked about opportunities and luck, right? I know that you guys are very smart, very determined. I mean, it was hard work and dint of effort and all that, but did luck have any role to play at all? Was there a time when you were in the right place, you were able to take the right opportunity, and so on?
Not at all for me. It's all me. Be lucky was the first item on that list in terms of career progression, and I think it's true. you could be amazing at your job. And if you don't get the opportunities, and sometimes those opportunities come out of crises or bad events otherwise, and how you respond to those things, which may not seem that lucky at the time, but it is. And for me, I was overseas for a long period of time. I used to work for Caterpillar. I went as an expat for a 3-year assignment that turned into a 15-year assignment. Because once you embark on a road, once you make a decision, you never know where that goes.
Yeah, you know, there's an old saying that says, luck is where preparation meets opportunity, right? And so part of, if you want to think about it as being lucky, is how well have you prepared yourself so that when a particular opportunity becomes available, you're well positioned to maximize that opportunity, right? And so some people would look at that as luck, that, oh, you just fell right into that. But a lot of folks that I know would say, yeah, that may be the optics around it, but it is more about where preparation does meet opportunity. And I think that's why you see this convergence of thinking around being a little more thoughtful, being a little bit more deliberate in how you're thinking about things, being a little bit more purposeful in how you think about your career. And then I would tell you, as much as those things are important, you have to have courage. And so you have to be thinking about, how do you keep yourself marketable? How are you creating value in your capabilities, in your accomplishments, in your skills, in your qualifications, that at any given point in time, you could be out in the marketplace and generate enough interest that someone would want to invest in you. Sometimes you have to have some courage that creates opportunities for yourself. And I have 3 kids. I've got a 27, 26, and 23-year-old kids in my household. And, you know, we talk a lot about, you know, being in control and creating your own opportunities, not waiting for those opportunities to somehow be created for yourself, but you kind of being in the driver's seat and not falling victim to the circumstances and things around you.
So, for anybody who's wondering who that is, it's our Senior VP of HR saying, take charge of your career.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You're the most qualified person to do it. You know, why would you want to trust your career to me? I've had 1,000 people ask me that question. Why would I put my career in your hands?
Good question. But I think part of that is also being honest with yourself about how you're doing, listening, because the whole listening is not just asking your manager or how you're doing and then listening to the response. It's, you know, are you getting good assignments? Are you progressing in your career? You know, just sort of really assessing where you are at any particular point in time is really important, because I think the control aspect comes where you're suddenly surprised, oh wow, I didn't get that promotion, or something happened to me. And in retrospect, there probably are signs along the way, both positive and maybe not so positive. So I think that's really important about when you say be in control. It means that, you know, you need to be attuned to how you're doing at any particular point in time.
My name is Lionel. I started last year, last August. And first of all, I want to say that it's been a great presentation. When I joined the company, Jeff, my ambassador, told me something very good about Steve. And he said, you know, I know when I joined the company, the relationship that I have with Steve, you know, if I have to throw myself under a bus for him, I'll do that. And Francesco is here. We've been part of the Game Changers competition. And last year we presented at Michael Dell, and he told me great things about Rich, which is, you know, I felt like, okay, by the time I was graduating, there were a lot of companies, so HP, Google, and for me it was hard. Where should I go?
Yeah.
And I was talking to the different companies, but when I spoke to Kelly, who was part of talent acquisition, position for the kids. So the way she approached me and defined the Dell culture was something that changed my opinion about my career. So when I joined, I think when I look at my agenda, it's basically everything that you guys said. Well, there's something that I noticed in general in corporate America. You have two types of people. One is the people who come and strive to be the best, to change something, whether the world, put the dent in the universe, something. And you have other people that come, that get paid, and they're comfortable. They just want to be there. They just want to go under the radar. I think it's really important to come and join this kind of group. Why? Because you learn different perspectives. I was born in Africa, I studied in Europe. Most of my friends are Asian, American, and it's good to travel sometime or meet people from a different background to know what you have. And if you don't know what you have, you will never actually take time to be grateful for what you have. So being here at Dell, my approach is every day trying to be the best, make sure that the company goes forward. So there's this article on LinkedIn. I don't know if anyone read it. If your employees are talking, you might as well be invisible. And they were talking about Dell specifically. And why is that? Because you have employees at Dell that goes there. They don't get paid to go on social media or talk about the company, but it's really the leadership that you guys drive that make this company what it is today. So I just want to say thank you. It was amazing to be here, and I really hope that this message that you spread here in this group will go across the whole company and different ERGs, just to make sure that one day Dell becomes a company that we all want to be part of. So that's just what I want to say.
Any other questions?
While we're waiting on a question, so yeah, thank you for that, Lionel. That was quite inspiring, actually. I feel inspired, so thank you. Appreciate that. But what you said is very true, and we know this from Dell. So when we look at Dell results, and we're able to look at the team members across our company that are involved in our employee resource groups, such as AIM, etc. And we can look at their Dell scores, and so, for example, we can see how they feel about being valued as a team member at Dell. We can see how they feel about their connection to the company, how well they understand the strategy and the direction of the company, how good they feel about Dell as a great place to work, how they feel about our products and our services. And it's an amazing correlation between those Dell items and people that are involved in our employee resource groups.
It was a lot of great insights from you guys. So my question is there something that you can recall from early in your career that you've done something very different or handled a big challenge, that's something you're really proud of and made people notice who you are?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, I think, professionally and from a career standpoint, it's a lot like things on the personal side. We all know people who are willing to take on big things and take on new challenges, even though they, quite truthfully, are afraid or have some fear or have some doubt, etc. And there's a lot of people who play it safe. And so for me, there were a couple of things. One is I grew up at SC Johnson. I started my career there. I had spent 13 years with that company. I knew what the future looked like, assuming I didn't do something really stupid, and that future looked pretty good. So I went from that to, I left the company that I grew up in, only work experience I knew, only company I knew. I went from consumer products to technology, which I didn't know anything about technology, nothing, literally. When I got the call for Dell, I didn't even know what Dell did, truthfully. And I thought I'd made the worst mistake of my life. And I thought I was gonna get fired. And there were days I wanted to get fired because I just thought, please, take me out of my misery. You know, I don't want to quit. You know, I don't have the courage to quit because I just started. So please, someone fire me. If you leave that company right now, you're going to carry this around with you for the rest of your career, and you're going to feel like a failure. But I tell you, it was that experience because I was being stretched. I took some risk. I was scared. I was afraid. I didn't know how to get anything done. I was all those things, right? And sometimes, you know, that's what you have to do, is to put yourself into that position and be so uncomfortable that it causes you to grow in phenomenal ways that you never would have thought possible.
I think for me, one of the defining moments was learning from others. Like for me, when I had the opportunity to go overseas, I was at Caterpillar, and my manager at the time fought for me to go. I remember her coming into the office asking, you know, would you be interested in going overseas to Geneva? And I said, well, I'll ask my wife, and I'll tell you if I'm interested. So I did that night, and I was. And when I came back, the general counsel at CAT had promised that position to someone else who also worked under my boss. And so when I said I was interested, my boss felt like I deserved it more than this other person, and went to the general counsel of the company and said, hey, you know what, I don't agree. I think Rich should go, not this other guy. He said, well, that's really interesting. Thank you very much, and please go back to your office, because that's not what I had committed to do. And it really struck me, you know, especially being in the position now, it was very courageous, and seeing that made me feel like, wow, I would want to do the right thing, even if it's hard and even if it comes at personal cost. And it was really instructive. So I think that there are examples like that all around us, good and bad. And I think this, again, this broad listening, you take a look around you, it's pretty inspiring, and you could learn a lot. And to me, that's another great opportunity about being here.
So one of the things I wanted to ask was, you said, Steve, that you know, to succeed, you have this bucket where you're doing the operations, get the lights on, business objectives, and then of course innovation. So you described the what, which is good to know, have it re-emphasized, but the how is what I'm really interested in. How do you do that? Because we all have the same number of hours in a day. How do you do that, or how did you do that?
Yeah, so a big thing that you have to do is you have to be, for starters, aware of how you're actually spending your time, right? So I made a conscious effort to look at my calendar on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis, and to just look what was getting placed on my calendar, right, in terms of the meetings, and go through, and I categorized all those meetings into those buckets just to be able to see. And so it's a very simple step of being able to say, well, look, you know, my calendar is full of all this kind of stuff. And so I'd go through and I'd say, okay, well, I probably don't need this one, or that can just be 30 minutes, you know, or whatever. So it's kind of being deliberate and actually looking at your calendar, seeing what kinds of meetings are getting scheduled. Like, for example, right now in the job that I'm in, I very seldom have more than a 30-minute meeting. So that's one way that I do it today. But I think the question that people have asked me about that is harder for them is to think about, how do I identify things in those other categories that are going to add value? And so, you know, part of that is reading, staying relevant with external literature that's specific to what you do, so that you're aware of emerging practices, developing a network of people outside the company that you can engage with, talk to, pick their brains, get counsel from them, call them up and say, hey, are you doing anything in this space? What are you doing? What can I learn from that? If I just talk to enough people outside of my team outside of my group, I pick up on themes that are happening across the company that go, I heard this over here. Now I was in this meeting and I heard someone say this. Oh, and I was in that meeting and I saw a deck and it had that on one of the slides. And then you start connecting the dots and you go, oh, we got an issue. This is an opportunity for us to do something about it.
So thank you very much. I'm very much a big animal picture kind of a guy, very simple person. So what I took away was, don't be a hamster, be an eagle.
There you go.
Definitely don't be a hamster.
Yeah. So
Eagles eat hamsters.
Occupational hazard. So thank you for both your times.
Yeah.
I mean, you were very forthright, very transparent, and I think that is something which we all can learn from. And thank you very much.
Yeah, great. Thanks for having us.
So, Sheila is going to be here, and she's going to walk us through our schedule for the rest of the year.
Thank you, everybody, especially Rich and Steve and Sharon for the great conversation. We have a lot of other information we want to share, but be respectful of everyone's time. I kind of want to connect the dots for you. What we talked about with Steve and Rich is a lot about preparation, luck, and owning your career. Well, how are you going to do it? You're going to do it with all the events and the opportunities we're going to give you within AIM. So how do you get to that? You got to be a member. So I want to thank and welcome all the other ERGs that attended our town hall. Really glad and happy to have you guys here. And for all the AIM members who brought a friend, thank you. And for the friends or someone who's not an AIM member, please don't forget to go to the back table and sign in and join. So what I want to kind of do for you guys is really help you understand how you can connect the dots for everything that was said today, because it was a great conversation. And you know, the bottom line is you do have to own your career. But at Dell, how can you do that? Because it's hard. There's so many things going on. You're working so hard. These are the things that we want to be able to offer to our members, and we want to help guide you there. Career is a huge focus for us, and it's very important for us to really connect with our people and give them the leadership training and the career training they need, as well as give them the opportunity to connect with other people so you can be present and visible for any opportunities so you can get lucky and have that luck. I'm not sure if you guys can see this. We will send, we can post this on our chatter. So again, also sign up for chatter and you can have our calendar of events. But what our goal is, every quarter we're going to have one signature leadership career event or workshop. We just finished one a week, 2 weeks ago. It was extremely successful. We had survey results that said that basically 90% of the participants were all just ecstatic what they got. This was training they wouldn't have gotten in any other area, and it was really valuable. So what we're looking at is every quarter we're going to do that. Also, in addition to that, we're going to focus a lot on connecting. So we want to connect with everyone at Dell and other ERGs also.